What's up guys, welcome back to Destiny Updates. We've got some exciting news out of Xbox 360 magazine, so let's go over it. So they started out by talking about how far along in development Destiny is, saying that it's only been about 6 months since they could play Destiny with all of its systems online. They said they've been able to play certain parts of the game for a while, such as the action shooter, which is basically just the core FPS part of the game. And then they continued saying that they could play their investment system in sort of a mock way, and they could also play parts of the big open world broken up into sections and imported into the engine. But now instead of all these elements running separately, they're actually running together like a proper game. So Destiny is definitely shaping up. Now they also mentioned a bit about the world, saying that you're in a big world that's populated by other players. A living world where things happen even if you're not there. It feels real, it's got time of day, big open environments, it has social places where you can gather, and it's got a persistent character, someone you can grow over time. You're going to choose who you are in this world, and every decision you make influences how you look or how you fight. It definitely has properties of what you'd associate with MMOs, but at its heart, it's an action game, a Bungie shooter. But it has all these other great things added to it, which we think really makes it a revolutionary experience in the shooter space. Now they went on to talk about co-op and the storytelling experience in Destiny, saying that we thought a lot about our co-op history. Bungie games have always been highly cooperative if you wanted it, and we wanted to really expand that. Could we really make a world that's not just shared by 2 or 3 other people on your couch, but could we make it shared with dozens, even hundreds of other people? Is that experience possible? Is it fun? And they said that for a long time they thought, well, we could do these innovations, but is it going to result in a better game? And what's really great now, as we play the game at our desks every day, we really see that paying off. The investment is worth it. So, this is starting to sound more and more like an MMO. Sharing the world with dozens, hundreds of other people. What can that really mean? Well, we're still not sure yet, but I definitely think it's leaning more towards that. Anyways, continuing on, they said, when you run into someone in the big wide world you weren't expecting, and in the shared spaces you collide for a little while, overcome an obstacle, get rewarded for it, and move on. It's a really transformative experience. It makes you think of shooters in a totally new way. We want to push not just what we're good at, but what we think the genre can become. Continuing on, they were asked, but what about traditional storytelling, cutscenes, and characters? And they replied, we think of the story as books. In the straight-up campaign part of the game, you'll absolutely be experiencing stories that have a strong narrative spine, that have a beginning, middle, and an end. There'll be a cast of core characters that, like you, evolve over time. We absolutely are going to tell good narrative stories and linear stories, but those are just part of what you can engage in with Destiny's world. Saying that that's what gets you excited about the world and draws you in, but after that there's a great deal more to be had in Destiny. Moving on, they were asked, does that mean players can expect to have the same character for the 10 years that Destiny is planned for? And they said, for as long as that world exists, you can be that person. We really want it to be in a situation that the decisions you make early on in the game, they matter and they stick with you, and you really grow your character over time. That's extremely important to us. Saying that as much as we enjoyed switching back and forth between protagonists, sometimes from the Master Chief to the Arbiter and the ODSTs, we're even more excited about this world where you can be a real person. You can make interesting choices and you can stick with this character over time. So it's pretty much confirmed that we're going to have the same character for as long as Destiny exists, and I think that's pretty epic. They went on to talk about your player identity in Destiny, saying, you know, it's really important when you're in a social shared world to have an identity that people recognize, that people can remember. And not just for your friends, but for the people you meet out in the world. Oh, that's the hunter with that crazy cloak and that amazing starship. Is that a holographic sight on his sniper rifle? That's crazy, where'd he find that stuff? Who is that guy? I've seen him before. I've matched with him in public places and I see him in the city sometimes. Then saying, you really are going to be identified by the choices you make. So it's really important that your character sticks around for a long time. So I found that quite interesting, that characters will be so strongly identifiable by their characteristics. And if they can really come through with it the way they're saying, then it speaks volumes about the customization options we'll have in Destiny. Moving on, they were asked about player spaceships and if there was space combat, and all they said was, well, the only thing we're sure of right now is that the spaceship is a thing that's going to take you from place to place. Like other things that belong to you, you're going to be able to personalize it. So, still just teasing us as usual, but I really hope they come through with it. Moving on, it's been pretty much confirmed that when you're in social environments like the city, you'll have a third-person camera view. Saying that when you walk into a social place, you want to top present yourself. And it's fun of course to see how you look as well. Saying that yeah, absolutely. When you're in the city and the tower, combat isn't a priority, it's interacting with other players. Now I think that's pretty cool. Personally, I don't like third-person shooters, but when you're in a social, non-combat environment, it'll be really cool to be able to see what you look like. and more of the world around you as well. Now they went on to talk a little bit more about character customization, and once again confirmed that your character is persistent across all forms of play, saying that in Destiny, your character is your character. No matter where you go in the story, or the co-op activities, or the competitive multiplayer, you will always have that character and it will persist from one game mode to another. That's the big difference when it comes to character customization in Destiny. You are you no matter where you go in the world. Now I really don't think Destiny's gonna have separate game modes really. I think if you want to play competitive multiplayer, that's going to mean joining a faction or something, and going into like a PvP zone or an arena or something. Not so much going into a menu and selecting competitive multiplayer like you would in a game like Halo. Moving on, they were asked, will there be any differences between the current and next-gen versions of Destiny? And they answered, anytime you get your hands on new hardware, you're going to try and take advantage of everything it has to offer. Coming up at E3, we'll be talking more about the specific features, but just like with any hardware leap, absolutely. We're going to push this game as far as it can be pushed on whatever platform. It's going to look great on PS3, it's going to look awesome on 360, and it's going to look great on the PS4 as well. Also, Xbox 720, you know, just putting that in there. You can bet that no matter where we are, we're going to make the game look great. So that should be good news for those of you not planning on upgrading right away. Of course, we'll have to wait for E3 to get the specifics. And finally, they were asked, is there still 30 seconds of fun? And from what I can tell, that's referring to Halo's style of campaign combat, where every individual encounter takes about 30 seconds to resolve, and then you move on to the next one. Basically that kind of quick, snappy combat we're used to from Halo. And they replied, this is a Bungie sandbox action game. From moment to moment, the choices that you make in combat are still just as important as it's ever been. If you love that fast cycle, sandbox gameplay that Bungie is known for, you're going to love this game. We're tuning all the weapons and combatants to make that great 30 seconds of fun experience over and over again. So that's it for the interview over at X360. I swear as time goes along I just get more and more excited for Destiny, and I really can't wait for E3 to get the real big news. Anyways, that's it for this update. Please consider leaving a like if you enjoyed the video. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the latest Destiny news. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next update.